This is a Ben Frank Connection presentation.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's up?
Ralph, how
Yes.
the heck did we get here? We are at the Big 5-0.
Big 5-0.
Where the hell did time go?
49 episodes in the books. Big
Wow.
5-0. And we want to welcome you to the Opinion City Podcast. Another brand new episode, but not just a brand new episode, a special brand new episode. Episode 50. We're celebrating here. And what better way to celebrate, Sean? We have got the absolute
probably the biggest guest we have gotten on this show to date.
The history of the podcast.
Yes,
it is huge. We are super excited. Sean, who do we have today?
We got, I think the intro we had explains itself, but I'll say it one more time.
Do it.
Mr. Anderson is on the show with us today, and we are so excited to have him on. AKA Stud Muffin.
There he is.
I mean, you put a little bass on it at least.
Oh, come on.
I tried. Listen, I tried my best.
Mr. Anderson.
There you go. That's a little better. Ralph got
Anderson.
There you go.
That's very exciting.
Ralph did a little bit better than that.
We're getting
so who came up with that? Was that your idea to do the name twice, or did someone bring that up to you? Like, how did that start?
It was kind of a blend of a few different things. Paul Heyman was the one that initially told me, hey, go out there and cut the ring announcer off tonight.
Okay.
Dress him down. It was Dean Hill at OVW. And he's like, cut him down, and, shit on him. Can I swear on here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, go
you're
right
fine.
ahead.
He goes, shit on him and then do your own introduction. And so when I did it, I used to announce basketball games when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember how I started doing it, but I would say the last name twice. And I used to have like fans from the other school come up and say like, hey, that was really great.
Right.
Keep doing that. So it was just something that popped into my head in the moment when I was in the ring and I hit the last name twice. And I came back and I had like a 30-minute match that night.
Yeah.
With Brent Albright. And nothing about the match really from the boys. It was just, hey, keep saying that. That was cool.
Right.
and then 5 weeks later, I was on TV. I was making my debut on SmackDown.
That's crazy. That's cool.
It really is. It just goes to show, I had wrestled at that point for about 6 years. I'd been in OVW for 7 or 8 months, 7, 8 months. It took me saying my last name twice. That was the.
Listen, sometimes certain things stick, and for some reason, the fans ate that up every time.
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to work.
No.
So talking about your career in professional wrestling, how did things all really get started for you in the world of wrestling?
I didn't even think that it was possible that I could get involved in wrestling. I didn't like wrestling when I was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Didn't like it. I used to give my friends a hard time about it. I remember I had a friend who watched wrestling on a regular basis, and he would wear the T-shirts, and I was just, what are you doing, man? What are you watching that crap?
Right.
And one night, it was just the two of us at his house, and he's like, "You're watching tonight. There's this guy that's starting to make he's getting really popular." And so I reluctantly did, and that was the first night I saw Steve Austin drive to the ring in a pickup truck.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Just
perfect.
His whole attitude, his demeanor, nice shirt, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
And it was just, I reluctantly again was like, okay, that guy's kind of cool. And then I would watch every week to see what he would do, see his segments, and then The Rock is pretty cool. And
yeah.
D-Generation X is cool, and the Nation of Domination is, and then I just slowly but surely got sucked into everything. And then once I got into it, I realized what an idiot I had been.
Right.
Years.
Sure.
And then I was at a party one night, and it became something that was so ubiquitous in our culture at the time.
Right.
Everybody was talking wrestling. The
Yeah.
wrestlers were on the cover of TV Guide the TV guides, and Austin was doing the got milk
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Busy stuff.
everywhere, and everywhere I would go, we would talk wrestling.
Yeah.
And I was at a party one night, and somebody said, "Hey, there's like wrestling schools that you can go learn how to do this stuff." And I just that blew my mind. And I looked up wrestling schools. I thought, I lived in Green Bay or near Green Bay at the time, and I thought the closest school that I'm going to find is going to be a major city like Chicago or New York, LA. And I thought, this was way before I didn't even know anything about the business, really. I didn't know who Ric Flair and Bret Hart were.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, I'll drive down every other weekend when I don't have to work, and I can live in my car if there's a wrestling school in that area. So, yeah, I reached out to one. Luckily, there happened to be a wrestling school just starting up in Green Bay.
Okay. So
Very
was
cool.
there like a specific moment when you were growing up that you watched that made you realize that it clicked with you? Like it was a specific wrestler match moment that was like, this is what I got to do now.
No, it was just, I mean, WrestleMania 14 was my first.
Oh, good one.
That was like, oh, I love this. This is
good
awesome.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was from that point forward. And like I said, I had always been into plays, and I was the guy that would stand up on a table at the party and tell jokes and do impersonations of my teachers and
the jokester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to entertain. I just didn't know how that would happen.
Right.
When I found wrestling, I just felt like this was such a great blend of all the things that I love. It's athletic. There's a lot of showmanship involved. So.
Yeah. So
I love the fact that you have my name up on the screen too, by the way.
Yeah, it's how we roll around here.
Absolutely.
That's
how we do it.
Yeah,
that's how we do it.
Yeah. So I mean, you've been all over. You had a great run in WWE. You had an amazing run in Impact. What can you tell us a little bit about maybe the differences between when you were in WWE versus when you were in Impact?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. The difference, the major difference was the sort of freedom that I had over at. Interestingly, when I first got to WWE, I had tons of freedom.
Right.
Vince, I remember I would go up to him on a weekly basis because I was doing promos at the time that were unscripted.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They didn't care. I would go up to him and say, "What do you want me to say?" And he'd just go out there and he said, "Worry about getting over.
Just do your thing. Yeah.
Do your thing. Don't worry about being a good guy or a bad guy. Just be you, get over." And then slowly but surely I started going really funny because that's just me naturally, I guess.
Right.
And he hated it.
Oh geez.
He didn't hate it outright. It was just, hey, you're being too funny. Knock it off.
Right.
And I honestly, I couldn't wrap my head around what he was saying. I remember I was kind of pig-headed, and I thought, like, this is what got me to the dance. Why would you want me to change that?
Yeah.
And it took me years to understand what he was talking about. And then when I started working with Undertaker, then he really said, we got to dial you back. I remember I was doing these Kennedy Declares.
Those were so fun. I loved those segments. They were on
the .com, I believe.
Yeah, right? They were great. I loved them.
And I did a couple of them, and they progressively got funnier and funnier. I did a thing where I picked on Tom Cruise and
and the couch segment.
The couch segment. I had the little alien baby, and and I remember after that aired, I was so proud of that. I was so happy that, and Vince pulled me aside and said, "We're not doing that anymore."
That was such good stuff. I love the United States Champion Declares one. They were all just so good. Such good little clips.
But and I asked him why are you doing this, and he said, "Look, funny does not draw money." and that's something that he believes in. And if you look at Kurt Angle, the difference between Kurt Angle early on in his career and late, you can see that he was really funny.
Oh, he was hilarious.
Great comedic timing.
Yeah.
And if he's a part of a segment now, it is as straight as you possibly can be.
Right.
He always plays a straight man now.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that's a really good point. Talking about the freedom, you see a lot of guys that, have their run in WWE and maybe things get, maybe a little stale or whatever.
Right.
But guys, go somewhere like Impact where they have that freedom to really kind of, run on their own. And I mean, there are so many names you can come up with that had much better runs in TNA/Impact just because, they were given that freedom.
Right.
And I wouldn't necessarily say that my run was better. It was just mentally at the time, it was a lot more freeing. I would be handed a really long script on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, whereas I would be handed a script in TNA and they would just say, "Hey, say what you want.
Yeah, just do what you want to do." Yeah, right.
This is kind of where we have to go.
Right.
So. Yeah. And you see guys like Kurt Angle, and I think from a fan's perspective, the way we kind of see it is more TNA or Impact is valuing you more than WWE did. At least that's the way it kind of looks from maybe a fan's perspective.
Yeah. Because I didn't think once you debuted in Impact, they sort of gave you that rocket and you were to the moon like from the very first day.
See, I didn't feel that way. I did not feel that way.
Wow.
I felt like my first contract there was I had to prove myself.
Right.
I had 1 year to prove myself, and I felt within a couple months I was able to do that. But
wow.
Yeah, I really had to sort of prove myself. Even though, I mean, they did give me a lot more than somebody just right off the street, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But and then in me saying that, pointing out the differences between the two companies, I'm not complaining about it necessarily.
Oh no.
Sure.
It is the way that it is, and WWE is very corporate and very structured.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
So how would you say that you then evolved your character from going to Mr. Kennedy to using your real name, Mr. Anderson, when you went to Impact?
I really don't think that I changed much. I mean, I have people that have come up to me and say, "Oh, I liked you better when you were Kennedy."
Oh, really?
I really
Interesting.
I did the same stuff.
I just feel like watching it back from both of your times there in Impact, I felt like you were more able to be yourself rather than go off of what they want you to say. You can just kind of be, this is who Mr. Anderson is. This is 100% who I am. This is not, some character. I feel like Mr. Kennedy was a little bit more of a character, while Mr. Anderson was, no, this is who I am, just amplified.
Yeah, I guess you're correct, because again, I was trying to figure out what Vince wanted out of me at WWE, and I don't necessarily think that I ever accomplished that.
Right.
Whereas Impact, it was just give us you. So yeah, it was more authentic for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about, and I don't know if this is a sore subject or not, but let's talk a little bit about Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I really wanted to touch on that.
We were really excited about you winning Money in the Bank and
so
where
excited.
that was going and how the whole storyline was kind of going, and then it seems like all of a sudden the rug is pulled out from under you.
Yeah, you lost it in a match for the briefcase against Edge, and I was just like, I remember watching that and being so crushed, because I was just like, I was so excited to see that rocket just strapped for you. Get the money briefcase, cash it on somebody. I was so ready for Mr. Kennedy as a world champion. So just kind of curious what happened there.
I was I've always tried to not be too excited about things when I'm told that this such and such is going to happen.
Right.
I don't really get excited until the day of. And then oftentimes, even on the day, I'm still a little skeptical, because it's just wrestling. Things change all the time.
Sure.
And there was one of those things where when I was told I was going to win it, I just kept my head cool. I think I told my ex-wife was the only person that I told.
Okay.
And I thought, I think I almost debated not telling her just because.
Okay. Yeah. Just keep it secret.
Because it could change. And,
Sure.
But so I won the thing, and then I got it, but we still don't know what I'm going to do with it. And then when they had me come out and say that I was going to cash it in at next year's WrestleMania, I thought that was kind of cool. It was like,
yeah, that was really cool.
This is some long-term booking here.
Yeah.
Which is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember, I think it was like a month and a half to maybe 3 months into having it. No, it was like a month and a half into having it. And Vince called me into his office and he said, Taker's injured. We need to get the title off of Taker. We're gonna have you cash in your briefcase next Tuesday, and you're gonna become the new champion.
Oh,
and he laid out him and Stephanie were in his office. They laid out the scenario for me.
Okay.
I went home, and again, I tried not to get too excited, but I went out to the bars that night with Michael Cole and Mark Carrano, and they knew about it, and they were like, "Hey, buddy, we're buying shots." That. And it was like we jinxed it.
Right.
Then the next time I wrestled, so I went home from that loop, and the next Saturday I was working in Poughkeepsie on a double shot. And the first show of the day, I was in an 8-man tag or something. It was something crazy like that, something super easy.
Yeah.
And Batista just gave me a clothesline. I took a normal bump, and I felt something pop in my triceps.
Oh.
I rolled out to the floor, and I remember Finley was on the floor already for some reason, and he looked up, and I pointed at my arm, and he goes, "That doesn't look good," because you could see it was already starting.
Oh boy!
Oh no!
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the locker room, it was already swollen and starting to change colors, and it hurt really bad. So Hornswoggle drove me to the ER that night.
Oh wow!
In Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I did an MRI, and then I went and I waited at my hotel room. And Stephanie called me the next morning, and she said, "Ken, you tore your tricep."
Oh.
And here's the thing: we still need to get that title off of Taker. And she said, "So here's what's going to happen: we're going to send the jet is going to come pick you up. Vince's jet's going to come pick you up and bring you to Penn State. You're going to be on Raw tonight. Edge is going to challenge you for the briefcase, and then he's going to go on and do what you were supposed to do." So, so I did all that. So I did all that, and then the next day I flew down to. I remember too, like Vince asked me, "What can you do?" And I said, "I'll do whatever, but I can't do much because I can't bend my arm." So I had to have it all taped up. And I remember he jumped me before. I think I was on my way to the ring, and he jumped me from behind, beat me up, trashed me. Rolled me in the ring, ding, 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 spear 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Then I went down to Birmingham, Alabama the next day, and I sat on Dr. Andrews' table, and he started feeling my triceps, and he just said, "I don't think that's a tear." And
oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, "I can't find your MRI anywhere for some reason. I'm looking for it, and I can't find it." But you can tell, like when there's a tear, you can feel the muscle off the bone, and I can't feel anything.
Right.
So I had to get another MRI, and then a couple hours later, I got called by his office. And sure enough, it was just like a large hematoma. It was just a bunch of broken blood vessels in there.
Wow, that's wild.
And interestingly enough, I've had that happen to me a couple different times now throughout my career. Where I've just got. I remember one time somebody kneed me in the quad. I caught the point of their quad, of their knee right in my quad, and my whole leg turned black and blue.
Oh,
wow.
So this is just one of those things where I think I was out for maybe a month and a half.
Right.
But it hurt. It was definitely one of the most painful injuries.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It had swollen so much. At one point, I remember thinking, I got to go to the ER. This was when I was back home. I thought they were going to have to cut me open to just relieve some of the pressure.
That's crazy. So flipping to the other side in Impact, or now TNA, because they're back as TNA. What was it like being in that huge angle, like the aces and eights angle, being like I think were you the president, vice president? Do you remember what
VP.
you were? VP, right. That was a whole, that was like a 1 year of just, in my eyes, just amazing storytelling. The big reveal of it being Bully Ray and you guys all being a part. What was that whole thing like?
That was really fun. I remember being skeptical when I first the TNA. For some reason, I had taken some time off, and when I was coming back, they really didn't know how they were going to slot me in, who I was going to be reprogrammed with. And I remember it was Bischoff pulled me aside and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I thought, me, a biker?
right.
But hey, let's give it a shot,
Sure.
And so we did it, and then it was at one point. I do feel like it was overkilled.
It did sort of become sort of like an NWO thing in a sense, where like back in WCW, they just added more members and didn't kill off some of the members back. It just grew, and I feel like with Aces and Eights, it grew so fast, but then there was no time to like settle it down again.
I always think the more times you hear somebody's entrance music in one night,
right,
it's a diminishing return, right?
Right.
The reaction gets smaller and smaller, and there were nights where we would be out there 5-6 times in one TV,
just taking over the whole show.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned before about talking with Vince and Stephanie. How, because we hear a lot of wrestlers talk about like if you want to get somewhere, you've just got to throw your stuff out there. How easy did you find it to really talk to like Vince and Steph? And on the flip side, how easy did you find it, sort of dealing with management on the Impact side?
So the thing about Vince is I never had a hard time talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
He is very intimidating, or he can be very intimidating to people.
Right.
I get that. And there's something he's like a Jedi. So this has happened to me and many other people. I heard stories about it, and then it happened to me a couple times where I would have an idea where I'm dissatisfied with something, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to talk to him and I'm going to present this idea to him, and you would go in and he would somehow make you think, he would make you believe in that moment that wasn't the best plan of attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The way that things were happening was in fact the best way at that moment. And then I'm not kidding you, the second his door would close, I would go, God damn it, he did it to me again.
He literally did the hand wave over your face. Like,
yes,
these are not the
droids you're looking for.
That's great. Oh, man.
That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what
and
are
then,
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. And then on the other side though, I felt like it was pretty easy to approach any of those guys with ideas. And
was that during the Bischoff and Hogan era?
It was. I started there in the Bischoff Hogan era. Vince Russo was the writer.
Right.
When it was like every time I got paired up with somebody, any ideas that I had everything was open to suggestion. I remember the first time I got paired up with Sting.
Oh yeah.
I really didn't know him too well, and he pulled me aside and he was like, "Hey, I don't really know you that well, but I just want you to know that I am open to doing anything. So if you have any ideas, shoot them at me."
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really
cool.
And that was when I pitched the idea of, well, when I first broke into the business, people used to say that I reminded them of a young you.
Right.
Would it be something that where I could dress up like Surfer Sting, like the old school?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So
that's pretty cool.
Fast forward to like a couple of weeks later, because he loved the idea. And fast forward a couple of weeks later, he's not only am I wearing his old gear,
oh wow,
in these segments, but he would actually paint my face because
that's awesome. That's really cool. That's
here
really
I am.
Oh, that's great.
I can't say I was living out my childhood fantasy because I wasn't a wrestling fan growing up, but like Yeah.
The moment was not lost on you.
No, exactly. The moment was not lost on you.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible.
That's crazy. And Sting, when he says that, he means it. I mean, if you've been following his AEW run, he's been jumping off of literally everything.
Yep.
Literally everything.
Yeah.
He truly wants to elevate other people.
Oh, absolutely. That's right. Like you see that now with him and Darby Allin. He's really trying to push Darby Allin to be that next, big star.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of wrestlers, do you have any favorite moments or matches or stars that you've had the opportunity to share the ring with in your history?
Well, my favorite match that I've been a part of was definitely Kurt Angle 2009 Lockdown for TNA.
Oh yeah, that's a good one for sure.
Then there's a couple funny stories about that particular match. First, we had been given 25 minutes. I think they told us we had 25 minutes. Several weeks in advance. I've never worked this way. Normally, everything is done on the day. So pay-per-view. The only pay-per-view where you have time to plan things out in advance is really WrestleMania, where you have 4 or 5 days where you actually get together. That's why WrestleMania matches are so epic. Yeah. And I remember Kurt approached me a few weeks out, and he was like, "Hey, I pretty much got everything laid out." And I just like, what? What do you mean?
what are you talking about?
yeah, I got some ideas. They're giving us 25 minutes, and they added this stipulation where one of us was going to have the key. So we were trying to figure out how to make that make sense,
right?
Because it really didn't. But Kurt was actually able to figure out a reason to where he took the key from me and threw it or pretended like he threw it. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but
right.
And on the day, he came up to me and said, "Hey, they cut our time to 13 minutes."
Oh, jeez.
And he goes, "We're going 25." Which in wrestling, if you, especially when you're dealing with TNA or WWE or whatever, they tell you 13 minutes, you best be back through that curtain at 12 minutes and 52 seconds,
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's with entrances and all that. So that's with entrances and everything, right? That's including everything.
Sometimes it depends. They'll tell you, is this bell to bell? You guys have 6 minutes bell to bell, and there's some, you can goof around on your entrances and stuff.
Right.
Or no, this is 6 minutes total with entrances. So they'll tell you, but it's you got to stick to your times. And Kurt just said, "I'll take the heat for it. Don't worry about
it." Nice.
And, all right, okay, cool. I'm not going to complain. And then the other thing he told me was he wanted to do the moonsault off the top of the cage.
Oh, geez.
And he said they'll never let me do it. I'm not asking permission because they'll never let me do it. So
right.
We planned it out, and then he just said, when they ask us about it afterwards, I'll just say, I was in the moment, and I just
right. Perfect. Yeah, it was just in the moment. Yeah.
I remember D'Lo coming up to me afterwards, and he said, "Did you know that he was going to do that?" I said,
nope, not a clue.
No idea.
Nope.
But so anyway, we're in the midst of this match, and we're going. And I remember Slick was our ref, and he's going, "All right, guys, they're telling us to go home." And
we're like, nope. Nope.
We just kept going. We didn't say anything. And a minute goes by, and he's like, guys, they're giving me the signal, wrap it up. And I don't know. I remember Kurt at one point saying, "Tell him to fuck off." Which he can't tell him to fuck off.
No, right.
It's a one-way mic, but you just see Slick look up at the monitor and go,
that's awesome.
But
that's amazing.
We came back to the curtain. The only thing about that I will say is AJ was pissed.
Oh no.
He was He was working Ric Flair that night.
Oh.
And they cut his time. They cut his time from 15 down to 9 or 10.
Oh. And it's all your guys' fault. It's all your guys' fault.
Well, he knew. He came up to me and he goes, I know he told you to keep going, right?
Well, you know.
And he's like, man. And then it was one of those things where like AJ's such a sweetheart of a human being.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't mad. He was disappointed. Was worse.
Yeah. But that's almost worse in a way.
It's
almost worse when they say, "I'm not mad. I'm just a little disappointed." That's almost worse.
I'm disappointed in you, Ken.
That's worse than being angry. That's worse in my eyes. If someone tells me I'm not mad at somewhere, I'm like, well, that sucks. That's almost worse than just you being angry with me because I took time away.
Yeah. My wife and I joke around about that, where she'll be like, "Hey, don't be mad," and I'll be like, "I'm not mad.
I'm just disappointed."
Oh yeah, that's the one that hurts.
That's the one that hurts the most.
Jeez. So do you, and I don't really know how to phrase this because this might be a hard question to answer, but no, I mean, where did you really enjoy your time more? What did you have a better time WWE? Did you have a better time Impact? What was more enjoyable for you?
That's a really good question, honestly, and I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. There are things that I liked more about WWE and that machine, and I was afforded all these like crazy opportunities to travel the world, and I got to do a movie, and I got to be in 2 WrestleManias, and you know, I got the tribute to the troops. That's
so cool.
One of the coolest things I've ever done in my career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in that sense, I loved being in the WWE and being in part of that universe. I did have more fun, I think, on camera with Impact, just because I was given that green light to go out there. And I remember Bischoff telling me early on, "Hey, we're not gonna just consider these promos that we hand you as bullet points. You know, you get there, you want to get there." So
yeah, you know what you're gonna say, but you don't know exactly what you're gonna say. Yeah. You got to fill in the points from there, which I think is a better. For me, honestly, I think is a better promo because you can say a word for word script, right? And it sounds good, but if you're just giving bullet points and you kind of fill in the gaps, that's where I think a true good promo comes in because you're actually just filling the gaps with yourself rather than being told a specific exact thing to say that you have to memorize, which I could never do. I could never just memorize a promo.
No, it's really hard sometimes to do that. And wrestlers are generally not great actors.
Right.
but you're being handed a script and told emote, like be this, be mad, be sad, be whatever. And it's easier to do when it's coming out of your own brain versus reading it off a piece of paper. A lot of times in my wrestling school, I'll have my students do scripted promos just because like you're going to have to do that. Every company that you're ever going to work for now is going to hand you a scripted promo. And it's more challenging to say the words that somebody else has written. You know, like I remember being in the WWE and MVP came up to me one time and he goes, "Kennedy, look at this." He's like, "Does this look like some shit that I would say?"
Yeah.
No.
That's gotta be tough. You mentioned WrestleMania, and a lot of wrestlers talk about, you know, that moment when you step out on the stage. Right. And I mean, I've been to 2 WrestleManias as a fan, so you feel it in the building. But what's it really like, that moment when you step out on the stage and you just, I mean, obviously you know you're at WrestleMania, so that's like it's a big deal already. But when you step out there,
sea of people like that, it's literally a sea of people staring at you. Like it's got to be such a surreal moment to like give yourself a second to like take it in and then go back to what you were doing.
Yeah.
The strange thing is, I didn't feel that way when I came out and hit the stage. When I came out, I thought like, this is going to be crazy. 83,000 people. The most I've been in front of at that point is probably 25,000 at a time. So And I go out and I remember looking out and it just looked like a really packed 25,000 seat arena.
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
Okay.
from your vantage point. And then we
Yeah.
get in the ring, we do our thing. And at that point, you've been in front of the crowd, in front of the cameras so much that you're just kind of like, it's, I don't want to say punching the clock, but
Yeah.
you're used
Right.
to that pressure.
Right.
It wasn't until after, and I always say, it's funny you use the term sea of people, because I always say, like, I went up into the I took a shower after my match and I went up into the luxury boxes where the families were.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw it, and I saw this little tiny ring in this sea of people,
Yeah.
and I was like, I can't, fuck, I just did that.
Yeah.
I
just wrestled in that sea of people. Yeah. Right.
That's when it dawned on me.
So you mentioned it before, and now I want to do a little deep dive. Why don't you talk to us about the Academy School of Pro Wrestling and how all that kind of started?
So that was something that I had wanted to start from the time that I broke into the business. And I remember sort of spinning my wheels, and there were things that I thought were true early on that ended up not being necessarily true, or just my trainers were fantastic. They're really smart guys. They knew the business. They just didn't know it inside and out.
Right.
They didn't know anybody. I had to go out and make all my connections, and I just I always wanted to open a place where I could pay it forward and have other people kind of cut a lot of those corners, and not have to go through the wheel spinning. And
right.
So it was something that I kept thinking about. And even after I left WWE, I thought, I haven't been around long enough I haven't done enough in the business to open a wrestling school yet.
Right.
And so I waited. In 2016, Dabari and my wife talked me into it. And of course, I'm always the guy that wants to like make everything, no, let's hold off. Let's make sure that this is this way. And no, like sometimes, and I found that it's best sometimes with a podcast. I started a podcast and I was the same way. I wanted to make sure that we had the intro had to be perfect. And then my co-host was like, no, let's just do it. And then we can fine tune it as we go along. And I feel like that's sort of what we did with the Academy. And I opened it up in 2016 with Dabari, who's one of my best friends in the business. And we've been training since then. We took a couple years off for the pandemic.
Sure.
But I trained hundreds of people have come through our doors. And some of them are now in AEW and WWE, NXT.
Awesome.
So that's really, and anytime my students start to do things, or they get booked on a big show, or they're doing TV stuff, it's like I'm proud of them, like I would be if it was my own children.
Right.
Because I remember that feeling. I remember getting that first extra work at WWE, and
Now,
I remember a couple of years ago, I got booked on a convention out in Baltimore. This was 2 years ago, I believe. And I get there, and Dante Martin was one of my students.
Dante.
And he had a table. He was there signing autographs. And I just remember like, yeah, kid.
Nice. So what was that transition like, going from wrestler to being a coach? Was it like an easy transition, or did you have to,
Yeah, it took me a little while to kind of settle into it. It's hard to teach people. Like, I'm not comparing myself to him, but like Michael Jordan was a great player.
Right.
Terrible coach. Because he can't articulate how his brain does what it does. It just does.
Yeah.
And so like it's like figuring out, okay, I know how to do this thing, but how do I get other people to understand it? That I think is the biggest. And early on, I think I probably blew my gasket a little more than now. It takes a ton to get me to snap.
Right.
But probably early on, I was a little more drill sergeant-y. Whereas now I understand, and it's actually kind of fun for me when somebody doesn't quite understand or they're having a hard time getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then it's like a challenge for me to, okay, I got to figure out how to make this person see what I see.
Right.
Very cool.
Very good.
So, getting back to your career a little bit. So what are some of the your favorite places that you've traveled during your career?
Ooh. Australia is the Australia.
I'm jealous of that. I've always wanted to go to Australia.
Always want to go to
Seriously.
Australia. Yeah, heck yeah.
I met my wife there, so
There you go.
That's number one, definitely number one on my list.
Sure.
Melbourne, Australia.
Sure.
Tokyo, Japan is also.
Oh yeah.
I love Tokyo. It's just like a. You ever see Blade Runner?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're in Blade Runner.
Like a whole new world, right? Like a whole different
Yep.
landscape, everything.
Boy, I'm trying to think. There's been a couple places. Italy. There's a bunch of places in Italy that I've been able to travel to.
Mm-hmm.
Some were because of wrestling, and then there were other places that I was just like, like when I got fired from WWE, my ex-wife and I went on like a 22-day.
Oh wow!
We spent 3 days in Rome, then we went on a 12-day cruise, which went to Greece and all these other places.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Venice, and it was like, I don't know, it's just cool to be in those places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those, and then obviously going to, I said this earlier, Afghanistan, or I went to Iraq.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went to
right.
Iraq actually in 2007 with Tribute to the Troops. And then again, several years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I put together a group of wrestlers that went over to the Middle East.
Okay.
I just visited military bases. We did it 2 years in a row.
Nice.
Mm.
We visited
That's
some
cool.
military bases, and we didn't have to fall down. We were just over there doing autograph sessions and race sessions. So that was really, really cool. But I've been able to travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to Africa yet. And I haven't been to Antarctica, but
everywhere else.
yeah.
So traveling the world as a professional wrestler, do you find it hard? Is there a lot of language barriers places you go, or do you find that there's a lot of people that speak English, you're able to make your way through, or is that a difficult thing?
We are so spoiled because everywhere we go, they speak English.
Oh, really?
Wow.
There you go.
I've got friends in Germany. I've got German friends who say that as like a prerequisite in their high school, they have to take English.
Right.
Most places in the world speak English. We do not. Like,
yeah.
I took 2 years of Spanish, and up until recently, my wife and I have been doing Duolingo now for.
Oh yeah.
Oh nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just rolled today.
I could never.
Today was 261, day 261. I'm going for a year. But I couldn't tell you. I could maybe order a beer, and that was about it.
Nice.
Right.
So thank you.
Right.
So yeah, we're really lucky that everywhere we go in the world, people know how to speak English.
Well, at least if I ever had to learn Spanish, I've tried Spanish. I had classes. I failed both of them. So I only know one language.
Yeah.
I've tried. I gave it a good college try, but
yeah.
I
Well,
would fail horribly.
And they say like unless you have a job where you need to speak a foreign language, the return on your investment of time is like, you don't need to learn another language because everybody else in the world, which is a really messed up way to look at things. But,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. So
hey, we don't have to worry about doing this thing because everybody else already does it.
Yeah.
right.
There you go.
So what are some of your goals that you have for the new year? Obviously you put out that graphic that you're taking bookings. Like, what are some of like your goals that you want now going into the new year, into 2024?
I just want to have fun. I want to get out there a little more. I took a couple good years off, where
Right.
I probably over the course of 3 or 4 years took 20 or 30 bookings maybe at most.
Right.
So now my calendar's filling up again. I feel good. I'm getting back out there. I don't know, man. Like I don't feel like I'm done yet. I don't know what that exactly looks like, but
Right.
yeah, we'll see.
Do you keep up with any of the current wrestling product? Do you watch a lot of wrestling? Do you watch any wrestling?
I do. What usually happens is somebody will tell me, "Hey, watch this match."
Okay.
Mhm.
Then I'll
Yeah.
watch it. But other than that, no, I really don't. I sort of know what's going on
Mhm.
loosely, but
Sure.
I don't watch religiously, and I usually have to ask my students, like, where do I watch this thing?
Right.
It's-
Where do I
there's-
find it? There's just so much to watch.
There's so much
nowadays.
going on.
There's
Yeah.
so much
Really is.
happening with
When-
the indie scene, with the main roster. There's so
Yep.
much wrestling to watch.
So hard to
It's
keep up
crazy.
with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hard.
When Davari and I opened up the academy, we decided, hey, let's live tweet during Raw and SmackDown and Impact. And
Oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
it was that in and of itself, and that's nothing. That's just like a
Yeah.
drop in the bucket as to what's out there.
Right.
It was a full-time job. That's
It
Oh,
literally
yeah.
is like for us sometimes to do the podcast. It's literally a full-time job just to keep up with the current product, to make sure
Yeah,
that we
it's
know
crazy.
what's going on with the world. But there's so
Yep.
much to watch. It's like, what do we pick and choose? You know, how do we do it? You know, like,
I try so hard. I DVR things, and then like if I hear something like I gotta see this, okay, I'll check that out. But
Right.
it's a very daunting task these days.
I listen to Cornette every once in a while,
okay.
and
Yeah.
they watch everything. Like, it's
Oh, they
crazy.
watch literally everything, whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad. Cornette will literally go on and watch everything.
Yeah.
And he usually thinks it's bad. So
Exactly. That's the problem. Is that he'll find something bad, and then as much as I'm not a fan of his, because I'm really not. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I do love watching him just tear down a spot, even if in our eyes it was good. Just hearing him be like, "No, it's bad for this, 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 and this." And I just love hearing him just break it down like to a T, like the whole thing.
Very, very opinionated.
he is, and I I tend to agree with him on a lot,
Oh yeah.
but I'm not gonna. It's not a hill that I'm willing to die on.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I see what he's talking about. That does make sense or doesn't make sense or whatever.
Right.
Mhm.
But I can't imagine watching that much that I hate. Like,
Yeah.
I
Right.
like watching stuff that I like.
Watching something that you hate and then you
Mm.
watch it over and over again just to tear it
Yeah.
down over and over again. It's
Yep.
gotta be an interesting job he has.
Yeah, definitely.
So, as of the time we're recording this, you aren't signed anywhere, but you've been vocal on social media about bookings for this year.
Yeah.
If one of the major promotions came calling tomorrow, could we possibly see you back on TV? And if so, is there one place you'd like to end up if you had your choice?
Yeah, I'm definitely open to the idea of going back somewhere. And I think as much as I appreciate and love all the promotions out there, like WWE has always been it for me.
Mm.
Okay.
It's just something that I like their brand of storytelling more.
Hmm.
To me, storytelling is key.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
feel like they do a good job of that, and it's still important there. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I think. Plus, it's just there was such a difference between the backstage stuff in the sense that, and it is what it is. But
Right.
when I was in WWE, everything was taken care of. If I had an appearance, there was a town car or a limo that would pick you up,
Right.
drop you off, and
Yeah.
you would have a handler with you, and they would make sure that all the wheels were greased. And
Yeah.
I remember we would pull up to an autograph session, and if there weren't, if the line wasn't wrapped halfway around the building, they'd say, like, we're not going yet because there's not enough people there. Just
Right.
stuff like that, right?
Sure.
And then when I got to TNA, it was like, hey, you got an appearance at such and such at the cell phone store. I'd pull up there, walk through the fans, and it was just such a different atmosphere. Or I would call the radio stations and do my own intros and interviews and stuff like that. It's just big difference.
Did you ever lose your voice saying your name so much and yelling your name out so much?
No.
Luckily, oh, really?
No. Walk on wood.
Yeah.
Right. Now that I said it, it's gonna come to fruition.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into our main event here, if you're enjoying this episode, please hit that like button.
Smash that subscribe button.
Smash the subscribe button
it.
so you don't miss anything we do. Make sure you guys are following us on social media at Opinion City Pod and follow the at Ben Frank Connect account.
The BFC.
That gives you everything that the Ben Frank Connection is doing. Us, ABJ, you can find it all. And then, of course, we got merch, baby. We got lots of merch going.
Buy a t-shirt. Buy a sticker.
Listen, who does not want to drink out of a mug with crazy Ben Frank on it?
I know, right? Come on.
So yeah, Linktree, Opinion City Pod. Check us out. We got all the merch on there. And with that, it is time for our main event.
This week's top 5, we decided to go with something that makes sense for our guest because he's, in my opinion, one of the greats at it, and that is top 5 promos in wrestling history.
All right. And I think these are somewhat interchangeable. It's really hard when people ask me who's your favorite opponent or what's your favorite match, I have a hard time because there's so many greats out there. But I will say I do have a list. And number 5, I'm going to go with when Paul Heyman shot on Vince McMahon.
Oh, yes.
The Paul Heyman shoot. I believe it was SmackDown.
Yeah, it was like 2002, right? It was like
It's leading up to Survivor Series.
Yeah. That was such a good promo.
So many people forget about that promo.
It's such a
that
great
was like
promo.
Some of Paul's best work.
It's visceral. It's real. It feels legit. It feels like he's just screaming at his boss, and it's amazing.
I just recently heard an interview with Paul. I think Paul's one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest minds that this business has ever seen.
100%.
And he talks about that specifically where all day long, Vince didn't know what he was going to say. And he's like, I'm going to say some pretty rough stuff here.
Right.
And he would go up and go, boss, you sure you don't want to? Hey, draw me money. Money.
Right.
Kept telling him, make me money.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great promo. Number 4, I'm going to go with Austin's Royal Rumble promo. It was like the start of the What era.
Yeah.
He was talking about going into the bar and busting people out of the bar. And I had 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers.
It's
it
unfortunate.
was like a 5-minute promo.
It was so long. But
and I believe he did it live.
I'm pretty sure that was 100% just off the cuff. Yeah.
You could just see him having fun with it. That's what that's what makes promos even better is when you can see the person doing the promo is just having a great time doing it.
It is unfortunate that the What Chants are now in a negative light when back then they were in a positive light, but now it's so overplayed and it's overdone that they'll say what for anything.
Those are tough. I've been on the receiving end of some of those. They'll fuck you up, man.
Oh, dude, they'll ruin you. They'll ruin you.
You got a 2-page script that you spent the whole day memorizing and thinking, and you start doing that what, and you go, you just completely.
It's gone.
That's great.
Paul Heyman told me this really funny story one time. It's one of my favorite Steve Austin stories, where all day. Whoever was the head writer at the time had written this stuff, and it was what it was.
Right.
And Steve didn't really say anything about it. They didn't really go over it too much. And he's standing in gorilla position, and they're in commercial break, and they're ready to come back. And Steve has got he's got the papers here, and he's like, Vince, are you going to make me go out there and say this bullshit? Or are you going to let Paul come up with some good shit for me to say? And
that's awesome.
There was silence, and Vince is like thinking, and then Paul goes, Vince, silence. Vince, go ahead, Paul. And he goes, hey, Paul, give me 3 topics. And he said, water, women, and wine. And he went, yes. And the glass broke, and he went out there and he cut up.
I love it.
6-minute promo on water, women, and wine.
I love it.
Together, and it fit into what they were talking about.
It's incredible.
So cool. It's so cool.
Number 3, I witnessed this personally, and it was incredible to see live. I was doing extra work for WWE. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And The Rock, I used to love watching The Rock when because he cut promos all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
But I would see him with the papers in his hand, and he'd be over in the corner talking to the wall and going over his thing. And then I'd see him. He'd have somebody pulled aside, Gerald Briscoe, and he'd be like cutting his promo on him,
Mm-hmm.
and then there'd be a little back and forth, and then he'd go away for a little while, and he'd go up against the wall again, and then Pat Patterson would come up, and he'd do it again, rinse, repeat,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would come time for that promo. And when I'm telling you, like, it was a sellout at that curtain to watch him. They opened Raw, or it was either Raw or SmackDown. They opened with like a little tribute package to MLK.
Okay.
And then did we lose?
Yeah, it's okay. Well,
That's okay. Okay.
He'll come back.
They opened that video package, and then he went into a live promo, and I remember he hit that, if you smell, and
every time.
And he walked off. He handed the microphone back to, I don't know, it was Kevin Kelly at the time, or maybe it was Coach, and he said, thank you. And he walked away. And I remember Lita was standing there, and it was just silence. You could hear a church mouse pissing on cotton. And she turned around and said, well, follow that one, boys. And
right. Yeah. Right. There's, I think it's so hard to follow a Rock promo these days. Even now, he can still go and cut a promo. And if you're not on your game, and you're screwed. Unless you're Cena, who calls you out for some of your things that you do in your life. Right, but that's besides the point.
he'll chew you up and spit you out for sure.
Oh yeah, he did that recently with Jinder Mahal on Raw recently on day 1.
He did.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and take a look.
He came out. He tore Jinder Mahal to 2 new pieces, and then teased that he might face Roman. So
I'd say number 4. Moving on, number 4.
Number 2.
Well, yeah. Number 2. yeah. We're going backwards.
The opposite way.
4. Yep. Number 4 would be the CM Punk pipe bomb.
Oh, that's such a legendary.
It was
like
just...
that promo changed not only CM Punk's like his career, but it changed, I think, wrestling, everything about it, just the landscape of everything, just how he literally said on air that this place would be better if Vince McMahon's dead. Like, the fact that they let that go on live TV, to me, is crazy.
And if he dies, it's going to be taken over by his doofus.
His
idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law, and the rest of his stupid family. Yeah.
So good.
Just crazy.
Even, of course it was scripted to some degree, but
of course,
but it had a really, the only thing that I didn't like about that promo was the at the end.
Right.
It felt so real until he did that. And then of course they're gonna cut your mic.
Of course they're gonna cut after you say those things.
Yeah.
Even though in hindsight, everything he said was 100% true.
Yep.
Everything he said. Everything.
And then I don't include this in this list, but the MJF did one in
WWE
which I thought was very, very well done. I
Very
love
well
MJF.
done.
Although I feel like if you watch them side by side, they're very similar.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, I can see that.
Which I don't think that was the intent. It's just
No, but it was a very similar style of this was a shoot promo or a worked shoot promo, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Work shoot. My number one all-time favorite promo, and this is like I'm not going to, but I could recite this promo to you right now,
word for word.
That was the Rock versus Billy Gunn promo.
Oh wow! Oh, okay. That's like me with Chris Jericho's debut. I could recite that debut with The Rock word for word. It was so good.
There are just moments where everything is firing on all cylinders, and you can see
and poor Billy Gunn. Poor Billy Gunn.
Just the best of what The Rock has coming out during that promo.
Yep. Really was well done. I won tickets to see Nitro for doing that promo. We were at a bar and they offered two tickets. I think it was in a Minneapolis bar.
Okay.
They were offering tickets to go see Nitro the next week.
Mm-hmm.
And I got up there and I did that promo.
Nice.
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
I will say too, like kind of honorable mention or something.
Yes.
More recent. I just saw Drew McIntyre's promo that he cut on CM Punk.
Oh, dude, that was good stuff. I'm so excited for CM Punk back into it, which who ever thought that would happen? But Nobody. I guess the trope really is never say never, right? So
yeah.
But I can't wait.
The Drew McIntyre's promo was so it was
very good. It was the perfect combination of things that are real, things that are storyline.
Yep.
You could see just the passion in him coming out in it because it just and it turned on a dime. It was so good. Like so it went from one thing to another, and there's just so many great opportunities for people out there now, like with CM Punk coming back and just people he's never worked with or tying up loose ends from the last run. And it's just, there's going to be a lot more, I think, coming out of that. That's going to be really good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then the other thing, the promo started with CM Punk doing that like layback.
Laying in the corner on the ropes.
And to stick it up his ass, he finished the same thing.
I just love when Drew did the same thing to Punk when Punk said, "All right, it's my turn," and Drew's like, "Oh, my turn. I'll go on the ropes."
It's been a hot minute since Drew McIntyre's been cool, but that promo put him back in.
Real cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So hopefully that means more good things for him.
Yes.
I love Drew.
Yeah.
Drew's good.
All right. Well, that was a tremendous top 5. Love talking promos with you.
Yes, promos.
You're obviously definitely the guy to talk promos with.
Yes.
But before we get out of here, let's talk about the Academy of Pro Wrestling once again. We're going to put up the information on the screen here, and we'll have it in the description in the video. But go ahead and let everybody know how they can start their journey into becoming a professional wrestler like Stud Muffin.
Well, it starts by texting that number on the screen there. You can that comes right directly to my phone, my wife's phone. One of us will respond to you. It's usually me, and I'll even field questions from people. Say if you live in Florida, like I just had somebody reach out to me who lives in somewhere in Florida, and they wanted to know if there was any good schools around. And there are some really, really great schools out there. I would like for people to come to the academy, but I understand not everybody lives in St. Paul and Minneapolis. We've had people relocate. We've had people come from other countries. But give me a text, and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. And I really do enjoy helping people figure this out. It took me a really long time to figure out the formula, and there isn't an exact science behind what goes into this soup, But, Dr. Tom Pritchard, I asked him a long, long time ago. It's like, what do I need to do? And he said, you know what? If we could bottle it and sell it, we would. But we don't know. I know when I see it. But there are certain things that are definitely, I think, wrong answers, and there are some things that are right answers. And try to teach people the right way. Try to teach people fundamentals. I'm huge on fundamentals. I'm huge on storytelling. We do promos. We have matches. Also, one of the things that we've been doing recently is Tuesdays and Thursdays are advanced night at the Academy.
Okay.
So my wife and I will live stream the matches.
Oh, cool.
And then we also live stream the critiques. So like I'll pair my students up. I'll give them some time to put their match together. Or sometimes we just go live like on the fly. Okay, you guys don't have any time to put your matches together. Just get in there and go. And then we critique. And then then we'll go on to the next match. So it depends. Some nights there's 8 matches and some nights there's 3. It just depends on what's going on. But yeah, we the training course at the Academy is 1 year. So you're signing up for 1 year of training. We do also offer, I do a match review with people. So if you're an independent wrestler out there and you've got a match, I will, for a fee, obviously, sit down with you and I'll go over your match. We'll watch it together. Steve Austin, I was lucky enough. Steve Austin is the reason we're sitting here talking today.
Right.
Had I not been at my buddy's house and seen Steve doing this thing, I don't know that I would have gotten into wrestling. And I was fortunate to become friends with him. And this helped me so much in my journey. When he would be at TV or a pay-per-view, he would always like, hey, let's go watch your match. Because when you were at Raw and SmackDown, they would have a monitor and catering, and it would have the tapes from Monday Night Raw, the previous SmackDown, and the previous pay-per-view, if there was a pay-per-view the night before. Okay. You could sit and watch your match. So you could eat and watch your match. And Steve used to sit there. We'd sit right up close to the screen. He'd have the pause, the remote, and just pause. See that right there? You could have done this differently. Right. And I just feel like that helped me out a lot. And that's what I try to do with my own students. So
perfect.
Yeah, please.
Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely. Well, this, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show today, helping us, celebrate episode 50. We knew that this was going to be a huge episode for us, and just having you here, there's no words to describe how excited we were to sit down and talk with you.
I told Ralph that if I see your face, I'm going to try my hardest not to mark out.
We were very excited to have you on. That means a lot, man. Yeah, and we will definitely be keeping up with the Academy and all the great things you're doing there. So again, thanks for joining us today, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you very much. Anytime you guys want to do this, I'm down. I really, awesome. You guys got a good thing going on here, so keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you in a minute.
All right. Well, 50 episodes are now in the books. Unbelievable.
We are now old farts. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No. But let's honestly think about what we've done here. We're at 50 episodes. We literally just had a conversation with the Stud Muffin himself.
Yep.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah,
it's just, to think where we started and where we are now.
Crazy.
Just only good things can happen from here. We've had a great run up to this point. It's going to get even better.
Oh yeah.
And we have you to thank for joining us, for watching us, for supporting us. Again, make sure that you're following everything that we do, so that we can make sure you see everything that we're putting out, the great content. And we absolutely love doing this. And at 50 episodes, I got to say, Sean, a big thank you to you for joining me on this journey.
Big thanks to you for having me, for picking
I've had this idea for 7 years.
All people.
7 years I've had this idea, and we finally started it
ago.
in 2023. And yeah, it was great having you along on this journey. You're a big part
I ain't
of.
going anywhere. I ain't going nowhere.
You're a big you're a big part of why we're successful. You're a big part of that. So guys,
thank you.
We will see you. Yes. Thank you so much. We will see you next week for episode 51. And all right.
Signing off.
This is Ultimo Ann here. You're listening to Opinion City Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Okay, thanks for watching this presentation. Like, share, and subscribe for more.